One of the greatest joys that I've had in my Christian life is to pray with my family. And I want to talk to you about that today. So let's go straight to our devotion. One of the great stories of the Bible is that of Hannah in 1 Samuel chapter 1, where she had prayed. She wanted a child, and she prayed and asked God to give her a child. And God blessed her. God gave her a child. And then she dedicated him to the Lord. She gave him back to the Lord. And what an example that is for us. All of our children, if you have children, they are a gift from God, and God has given them to you, and we have a great responsibility. But one of the things that I've discovered in child rearing, and I have 2 children, 5 grandchildren, I love them so much, and I'm so thankful for them, and they've been such a blessing to my own life. But one of the things that we learned to do early in our Christian lives was to not only dedicate them to the Lord, but to pray with them. Not just to pray for them, but to pray with them. Now, I know a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents who pray for their children, but not many who just pray with their children. And I want to encourage you to do that, because there's 3 things that praying with your children will do. The first thing is it will draw you close to each other. I mean, when you share your hearts with one another, and when you pray, you're being real, you're being honest, you're being transparent. And this is the kind of prayer we're talking about, not just religious praying, but where we're honest and open and sharing, and we come to God and we bring those needs to God. And I want to tell you what, that does something. Not only will God answer our prayers, but we see that we are drawn closer to each other. I would say that some of the deepest friendships that I have are because of praying with people, and because you really are sharing your hearts during that time of prayer. You're opening yourself up, you're vulnerable, and that's where friendships are made. And I think that's where many great parent-child relationships are built, is during those prayer times. I know from my own self, my wife and I, when we first got married, we decided that we would pray together. And to this day, my wife and I pray together daily. Every night before we go to bed, we pray with one another. And there's just something about that God uses to draw us not only closer to Him, but closer to one another. When you pray with each other, it draws you closer to each other. But the second thing is that God will do works in their lives, in our lives, and our children will see God answer prayer. And oh, what a joy that is to see our children seeing God at work in their lives. And when you go to the Lord and you bring things to the Lord, and you will see Him answer those prayers, our children need to see that. And then the third thing is you will leave a legacy with your children. My grandmother I never met. My grandfather I never met. I'm named after my grandfather, Sam Tippit, and yet I never met him because he died before I was born. But the one thing I learned about them was that they were a people of prayer. The only thing written about my grandmother is about her prayer life. She was a great woman of prayer. And she left me a legacy of prayer. Most of my ministry is built on prayer. I had no idea until just a few years ago when I began to learn and discover about my grandmother, the legacy that was left me. You will leave your children a great legacy when you leave them the prayers that you prayed, and especially when they see you praying those prayers. What a legacy will be left to your children. So pray for them, dedicate them to the Lord, give them back to God, and pray with them.